Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We really appreciate the opportunity to update you as we all work through this unprecedented situation. We are continuing to review all of our city operations in response to COVID-19, and the city is proceeding with additional facility closures and service modifications. As we've stated, our number one priority is the health and safety of the general public and our staff, and that is the key guiding principle for our response. The measures we're taking are intended to further mitigate the spread of COVID-19 while ensuring that essential services are continued. City Council is tracking this matter closely and will be meeting tomorrow formally to address the situation. I'll now hand it over to Mayor Stewart to speak to the issue. Thanks.
Afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for being here. First, I want to acknowledge we're on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and I've been in constant contact with the leaders of those nations and thank them for their working together. So today we're announcing new measures the city is taking to help limit the spread of COVID-19. I want to start by thanking every Vancouver bar and restaurant owner who listened to the directives from BC's Public Health Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, and Vancouver Coastal Health's Chief Medical Health Officer, Dr. Patricia Daly, and they closed their doors to the public last night. So thanks very much for doing that and following the directives. Thank you, too, to the tens of thousands of Vancouver residents who also took these orders seriously and stayed home for St. Patrick's Day. This is a critical time in the fight to slow the spread of COVID-19 and flatten the curve, and each of us has a personal responsibility to keep our city safe. Myself, our council, and our staff all take this responsibility very seriously. Right now, I need everyone to follow the advice of the public health officials and maintain between 1 and 2 meters of physical distance between yourself and others in public. This means that for most people, you should limit most public interactions in most places. If you cannot guarantee a safe physical distance between you and other people, you should not be at that business. For business owners, either you need to change operations to ensure physical distancing or close to the public. These are extraordinary times, and we need to take fast and extraordinary action. While many people and businesses followed the public health order last night, unfortunately, some did not. This morning, I received a briefing from Police Chief Adam Palmer, who told me many smaller restaurants stayed open with patrons inside. Also this morning, I was briefed by the measures we need to take as a city by our senior staff. After taking the best advice from health officials, Fire Chief Darrell Reed, and Police Chief Adam Palmer, I have decided we need to declare a state of emergency in Vancouver. As such, I have called a virtual special council meeting tomorrow morning where I'll ask council to formally endorse my decision. This declaration will give our city the tools it needs to move faster and keep residents and businesses safe. Part of these powers will enable us to close all public serving businesses to assembly service and remain open only to provide takeout delivery. It will also allow us to monitor the situation in grocery stores and pharmacies and to make sure no one is buying more supplies than they need, and allow us to take action to curtail this overbuying if necessary. We have seen empty shelves and panic shopping in the last few days. This is unacceptable. I have checked with store managers and people familiar with our supply chain. There is no food or supply shortage, but there is a serious problem with people hoarding and overbuying. If residents do not immediately change their behavior and begin acting with their fellow Vancouverites in mind, I will work with local retailers and I will take action. Finally, this declaration will give our emergency management teams and police officers more flexibility to deploy resources and enforce public health orders and restrictions on businesses. To that end, I am asking all residents to immediately limit their time in public places. Stay home as much as you can, and on the rare occasion that you need to leave home to get essentials, keep a safe distance between 1 and 2 meters from others. To business owners in Vancouver, I know this is incredibly difficult, but unless you can operate takeout or delivery services, now is the time to close to the public. We also need to think of the year ahead, next month, and the many months that will follow. We have significant challenges that are facing our most vulnerable, that are facing workers, and that are facing businesses. And I want to talk quickly about what we're asking both the province and the federal government for in order to support these groups. Let me start with the most vulnerable residents and SROs in the downtown east side and throughout downtown, as well as those living in shelters, underhoused, or homeless in our city. First, we need to keep COVID-19 out of these communities for as long as we can. Most of these residents have little access to safe hygiene, and most are immune compromised. An outbreak among these neighbors could be devastating to them and the people who work with them. This is why I've convened meetings with nonprofit service providers who serve vulnerable populations to ask them what they need help with. We already have a strong sense of what the main items are. From the province, we need a plan for testing frontline workers, funds to keep SROs clean, and systems for making sure people living in SROs or on the streets know the risks and what to do to stay as safe as possible. Second, we need a plan for what happens when cases first appear. We need all necessary funding and supports from senior government to help isolate infected people and keep them and support workers safe. And third, when we do end up moving people, we need to make sure they can stay isolated while still accessing food, health services, treatments, and medications. I need firm commitments that we will get whatever we need to keep vulnerable people safe. The second set of challenges are those facing workers. Right now, many workers, especially those who work in the service sector who are dealing with restrictions because of COVID-19, are already or soon to be out of work. This morning, the Prime Minister announced an unprecedented aid package and that helps people who have been laid off and are unable to work because of illness or caregiving or have had their hours reduced. I thank the Prime Minister for his immediate commitment and this unprecedented move. I also want to encourage every single worker in the city who worries about their income or has already been impacted to visit canada.ca/EI and take steps now to apply for benefits. For all other city workers who may not, qualify for EI, members of the so-called gig economy, or those who are self-employed or are caring for children, the government has announced that an EI-like system is coming in April. If you are unsure whether you will qualify for EI or need additional help, I encourage people to find out if they qualify for BC's Income Assistance Program by visiting myselfserve.gov.bc.ca or calling 1-866-866-0800. We need to make sure that while people are struggling with pay, they don't lose the places they call home. That's why I'm calling on the province to immediately move to ban evictions and help people pay their rents if needed. Now, we have a small rent bank here at the City of Vancouver, which is now overwhelmed with requests. We need provincial help. And finally, if you're a worker who happens to be to own your home, I want to make sure the province expands the residential tax deferment program to cover more households beyond seniors and families with children. So let me reiterate this. No one should lose their home or become homeless as a result of this pandemic. The third set of challenges we need help with are mitigating the impacts on our local economy, especially our small businesses. The federal government has already announced some measures of support like lines of credit, but we need more. That's why I'm calling on the provincial government to expand the property tax deferral program to provide immediate relief for small businesses and nonprofits. This is a quick first step we can take now as we continue to explore all options to support our local economy in the months ahead. The last thing I wanted to stress is that all of these requests are immediate. As part of the first phase of the ask from the city, they deal with the impacts being felt right now and they will help keep people safe. But make no mistake, there will be much, much more to do as we transition from fighting the pandemic towards recovery and getting our economy moving again. These requests from aid to Ottawa and Victoria are coming, but they are for another day. Right now, the focus must remain on helping our most vulnerable stay safe, making sure no worker is left behind and no one loses their home, and doing right by the thousands of businesses that are reeling right now. And now, before I hand it over to staff for more details on our operational shifts, I want to speak directly to each and every resident and business owner in our city. Thank you. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being part of the solution. I know these are scary times, and I know you might be unsure about your job, your paycheck, your rent, the future of your business. or the care of your children. And I want you to know we are here for you. Everyone is doing their utmost to fight for you and to fight for our city.
The following stats related to COVID-19 are current as of Wednesday, March 18th at 3 p.m. BC now has identified 186 patients, of whom 7 have died. There are 598 patients identified in Canada, and 8 have died. There are approximately 198,000 cases identified worldwide, with almost 8,000 deaths. Mayor Stewart has made it clear that he wants a state of local emergency declared for Vancouver. Various experts working for the city, including myself, support this position. A state of local emergency will allow us to take a number of additional measures which will ensure we have the resources we need to maintain essential services and meet the demands of other agencies, including Vancouver Coastal Health. We appreciate there's a lot of information circulating at this time, and not all of it is coming from a verified source. Let me make it clear. All updates from the City of Vancouver will be noted within our news release, on our website, and our verified social feeds. Residents are encouraged to follow @City of Vancouver on Twitter for the latest updates on the city's COVID-19 response. Yesterday, we announced additional closures and service impacts in the City of Vancouver. These include limiting access to city services to focus on a combination of appointment only and online or digital delivery models, revoking permits for events or gatherings with more than 50 people, as per the provincial health officer. Council-appointed advisory meetings, open houses, workshops, pop-up and street activities, and rezoning open houses are suspended. All boards and commissions are suspended until further notice. All Park Board, Vancouver Public Library, and Vancouver Civic Theatre sites remain closed. The Vancouver Transfer Station and Landfill, as well as the Manitoba and National Works Yard, are operating. We're committed to maintaining services, and we want to ensure a safe environment for everyone, including our most vulnerable. The Homelessness Services Outreach Team continues to operate as an essential service. Our social centers are open, and 11 hand washing stations have been deployed in the downtown east side. This, of course, will increase access to hand washing for that community. And I want to say, our staff are doing incredible work. Social distancing is not always a clear option for first responders and frontline workers. This leads to concerns about families and coworkers. Our Emergency Operations Center is coordinating the most complex emergency in Vancouver's history, and unlike a local emergency, all of our neighbors, partners, and other levels of government are also affected. We're public servants. We're proud to serve Vancouver. We're ready to serve in all the new ways that COVID-19 is making us serve. And of course, in all the other ways that we always have. We appreciate the efforts of our citizens with social distancing. And trust me when I say we understand how the changes in our city, in our social network feel. We'll get through this, Vancouver.
As the Mayor and Chief Reid noted, our priority continues to be residents and continuing the essential services that the city provides, particularly those services that support residents who are homeless, living in SROs and in the downtown east side. This is a resilient and diverse community, but as the Mayor noted, there are many people in this community that are living with underlying health conditions, rely on community services for basic needs, and often have very low economic resilience. As the Mayor and Chief Reid noted, to ensure that resources can be focused on supporting essential operations, the city has closed or limited public access to a number of its facilities. Specifically, staying open to serve this community are Evelyn Saller, Carnegie Centre, and Gathering Place. These are our social operations, and they're remaining open to deliver essential services such as food, shelter, showers, and laundry. We are taking a room-by-room approach to limit access to space in line with provincial guidelines. Our operating hours at Carnegie and Evelyn Saller are being shifted to 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. to serve the community. Food services at all 3 sites, showers at Gathering Place and Evelyn Saller Centre, and laundry services at Evelyn Saller will continue to ensure that essential needs of these residents are met. And as Chief Reed noted, the Homeless Services Outreach Office remains open as an essential service on Powell Street. The city has partnered with Vancouver Coastal Health and BC Housing on a multi-agency public partner task force to identify and implement measures to help support people who are experiencing homelessness, living in SROs. This task force is working to improve communications with the downtown Eastside residents and service providers. As part of this work, we have deployed 11 hand washing stations throughout the downtown Eastside, and we're currently working to secure additional locations where people who need to self-isolate but are experiencing homelessness can go. We've engaged peer networks to distribute basic health and hygiene information into private SROs and on the street. And we are also working on and having urgent discussions with community partners on other basic needs issues such as food security and access to medication and safe supply. And while this issue remains a significant risk for our community, we are securing accommodation for individuals who may be required to self-isolate, and the city is prepared to provide BC Housing and VCH with emergency shelter facilities if required for that purpose. I don't have specific details to share at this point, but we will in the near future. The task force is connecting with community networks and organizations to support in the design and delivery of this response. And we will continue to work and to monitor, anticipate, and adapt our collective response to COVID-19 as the needs of our vulnerable residents and the downtown Eastside changes and the directions from senior government evolve. Thank you.